The World Cup kicks off tonight. Bosnia and the USA play tomorrow, and Bosnia just played in St. Louis. Let's talk about that next on the Zmy Media Podcast. Hello and welcome to the third ever episode and a long-awaited episode of the Zmy Media Podcast. I'm your host, Dino Siljanovic. You can find me on X at Dino_zigzag or on the Zmy Media socials on Instagram, X, YouTube, and Spotify. Now, I do apologize for not filming an episode in a while, but hopefully we're back and here to stay now. I was going to come back earlier throughout the international breaks and stuff, but sadly I just didn't film or ran out of time to film and was just really busy. But at least we're back now, so without further ado, let's get into today's episode. But before I get into today's episode, I want to pay my condolences to the family of Edin Avdic. If you don't know who Edin Avdic was, he was a legendary Bosnian basketball commentator and a legend of basketball commentary throughout the Balkan region. He was one of my idols when it came to sports journalism and commentary and was a big reason I decided to pursue that as a career choice. Sadly, last week, Edin passed away at the age of 47. My thoughts and prayers go out to his family in this difficult time. Now let's get into the episode. 2026 host nation Mexico kick off the World Cup against 2010 host nation South Africa today. I'm very excited for this matchup, and I'm very excited for the World Cup to kick off. It feels like just yesterday I was watching the 2018 and 2022 World Cups, and now we're already at the 2026 edition of the tournament. And I'm very excited for this World Cup to get underway. My prediction for that match is 3-1 for Mexico. They've been in really great form recently, and I think out of all three host nations are going into the tournament in the best form. I think that would be a great start for one of the 2026 host nations against the 2010 host nation, of course, in South Africa. And then later in the night, South Korea and Czechia take place. I think this is a pretty good matchup. Both are pretty decent sides. Lots of quality in both sides. As you know, Czechia, just like Bosnia, went through the playoffs to get to the World Cup. So yeah, pretty good matchup, and I'm predicting a 2-2 draw for these sides. Now, before we get to the World Cup talk a little bit more, let's talk about the Bosnian national team's last match. This match took place in St. Louis at Energizer Park, the home of yours truly, St. Louis City SC, against the national selection of Panama. The match finished 1-1 with Bosnia taking the lead courtesy of center back Nikola Katic in the 23rd minute. And then Panama equalized just before halftime courtesy of Giovanni Ramos. I don't have too many comments on the overall gameplay. I thought that both teams didn't really showcase anything too special, and it was pretty much a mid-performance from both teams. Nobody was trying to risk it too much. I thought it was a very defensive overall game. Bosnia had a great chance to regain the lead in the second half. However, sadly, Amad Memic's shot hit the post. Great shot from him. And he was really electric in the second half. I thought he was our best player in the second half and showed a lot of quality and glimpses of quality. And I think he's going to be a really important player for us going into the World Cup. However, I wanted to focus and mainly talk about the atmosphere and some takeaways and thoughts I had regarding that, Overall, I thought it was a very cool and exciting match day atmosphere. I really enjoyed seeing so many Bosnian fans outside the stadium, gather inside the stadium before the match. The Zlatna Jezva coffee pot outside the stadium was also a very nice touch, and it was really cool because it's a Guinness Book of World Record coffee pot. I will say, though, I did try the coffee, and it was a bit watered down, which I was low-key expecting. I mean, it's a huge cup of coffee, or pot of coffee, as I should say. But it was still a nice touch and a cool thing to see. I enjoyed seeing the thoughtful tribute for Edin Avdic, who I mentioned earlier, in the stands. And then the large flag during the anthem and, the Zastava Sojinam during the anthem, that was really cool. The one thing I really enjoyed, and it was probably my favorite thing of the match, was getting to hear nearly 20,000 people, including myself, singing Pojem se Siri Miri Srijana by Halid Besic. Halid Besic is an absolute legend of Bosnian music. I actually got to sing on stage with him once as a little kid, and it's a memory that I cherish forever. And, sadly, he passed away last year, and recently his wife, Seda, also passed away. So my condolences to their son, Dino, as well, and to their family and fans around the world. And then another cool moment was getting to hear the crowd also sing Bosanac by Enis Begovic. But like I was mentioning earlier, getting to sing Pojem se Siri Miri Srijana with my father and hearing so many fans sing, it brought a tear to my father and I's eyes. And I think my father was really proud to see me sing with him and enjoy the moment. And it was an incredibly special moment that I will never forget and cherish for a lifetime. Another really special thing that happened throughout the course of the week, and as a fan of the Bosnian national team is something I will forever cherish, was the days leading up to the match. I got to meet some players and some Bosnian football legends. The players I got to meet were Esmir Baraktarovic, who scored the game-deciding penalty against Italy to send us to the World Cup. And also, he's from Appleton, Wisconsin. He was born and raised in the United States. Went through the New England Revolution Academy. Apologies. Another really special player I got to meet was Kerim Alajbegovic. I got to meet Tarik Muharamovic, Nidal Celik, and Denis Hadjikadunic, as well as Nihad Mujakic. Which, speaking of Nihad Mujakic, I did make a promise with him that I would buzz my hair off very short to look like him if Bosnia make it out of the group at the World Cup. So, good luck to the team, and I hope they use my hair as motivation, I guess. The legends I got to meet were all part of Sergei Barbarez's backroom staff, and that included the man, the myth, the legend, Sergei Barbarez himself, former captain and now sporting director at Emir Spahic, assistant coach Zlatan Baramovic, and former, obviously, player of the Bosnian national team as well. Scout and assistant coach, I believe, Sasa Papac, former Rangers and Bosnian national team player. And scout and assistant coach Ninoslav Milenkovic, which I want to give a shout out to Mr. Milenkovic, who's a follower of my media page on Instagram. And he's just a very nice guy and a great human being. I had a pleasure talking to him and getting to meet him. Another cool thing that I forgot to mention earlier, and wanted to give a shout out to him as well, was that Joey Zanaboni, the play-by-play commentator of St. Louis City SC, gave me a shout out during the Bosnia-Panama match on the live stream they had in the app. I really appreciate this from Joey, and that's why I wanted to shout him out. I helped him prepare for some of the match facts for the match, and just overall preparation for the match. I appreciate him giving me the recognition for it. So once again, thank you to Mr. Zanaboni, and shout out to him. Now, going back to the St. Louis match and the atmosphere overall, I will say I didn't think the support was loud enough during the match, which I will agree that you have to factor in the heat and some other aspects as well. However, I thought it was going to be a much louder atmosphere throughout the 90 minutes. In my section, I will be honest, me and my dad were starting a lot of the chants and giving a lot of support throughout the match. I will say it upset me and surprised me a bit that the stadium didn't sing the national anthem, because usually everywhere Bosnia goes, our fans break out and sing the national anthem, and it's just a beautiful sight to hear on TV. Sad I didn't get to experience it in real life. Other than me and my dad, I know maybe about 2 other people in the stadium who sang the anthem. And I also didn't enjoy the fact that the Volim te Bosna chant broke out before the anthem even finished. However, moving past these aspects, it was an unforgettable moment, and it was a great atmosphere for me. It was my 3rd time getting to watch Bosna play live. Sadly, I was a bit young for the first 2 matches, so this match will forever be special for me and has me really hyped up for the World Cup. Haimo Bosna. Now, let's get back to the World Cup talk. Bosnia and the U.S. men's national team both kick off their World Cup campaigns tomorrow on Friday against Canada and Paraguay, respectively. I'm really hyped for both of these matches, and they've been very long awaited in my household. Now, I haven't paid too much attention, I will be honest, to the lead-up between the U.S. men's national team and Paraguay. However, I did see that one of Paraguay's best players, if not their best player, Julio Enciso, got injured, unfortunately, in their final friendly prior to the World Cup, which this could prove to be massive, and this is why I'm predicting a 2-1 win for the U.S. against Paraguay in their opener. Now, before we get to talking about Bosnia versus Canada, let me give you guys my predictions for the Matchday 1 matchups. Like mentioned earlier, 3-1 Mexico win for South Africa. Mexico's been in great form heading into the tournament. And then a 2-2 draw between 2 quality sides, in which are South Korea and Czechia. And now our first bit of Bosnia World Cup talk. Canada 0, Bosnia 2 is my prediction for that. I'm going bold. Also mentioned earlier, USA 2, Paraguay 1. Then I also have Qatar 0, Switzerland 3, Brazil 2, Morocco 1, Haiti 1, Scotland 4, Australia 0, Turkey 1, Germany 6, Curacao 0. Sorry, Curacao, I know it's a tough scoreline, but, I think it's realistic. I know I'm going bold with a big score like that, but I think it's realistic. Netherlands 1, Japan 2, which is one of my bolder predictions. I think Japan will stun the Dutch in their first match. Then I'm going Ivory Coast 0, Ecuador 2. I think both sides have a lot of quality, and it could go either way, but in this case, I'm predicting an Ecuador win. Now I'm going bold again. Sweden 1, Tunisia 2. Obviously, as we know, Sweden didn't really do too well in the qualifiers. They got in through the playoffs as well, which they had because of Nations League. But, their performance in the qualifiers overall didn't convince me, and it's why I think that Tunisia could actually surprise them and get a 2-1 win. Now I'm going Spain 7, Cabo Verde 0. Now, I will give the benefit of the doubt to Cabo Verde. I did make this prediction, but now that I'm thinking about it, I think it's going to be a lot less of a scoreline. Let's say being like 3-4-1, which still isn't great in their favor. But they aren't a bad side. They beat European competition recently in Serbia. I know Serbia obviously played a, different lineup. It was like a B or C team, if we're being honest. There was a lot of players out of their league and not many star names in Serbia. Which they also lost to Mexico about last week, which surprised me a lot that it was, as big as a scoreline as it was. I believe it was 5-1 for Mexico, with 2 of the goals being own goals from Serbia, so it just wasn't the best night for them. But I think, like Bosnia, Serbia have to trust Veljko Paunovic, their coach, and put a lot of faith in him, because I think, like Sergej Barbarez, he can really bring a winning spirit to that national team and take them back to the levels they deserve to be at. So now my next prediction is also bold. I'm going Belgium 1, Egypt 2. I think Egypt can pull off the win against Belgium. Belgium isn't convincing me too much, in my opinion. I think they'll still obviously make it out of their group, but I could definitely see this going Egypt's way. Now, the next match, I'm going Saudi Arabia 0, Uruguay 2, Iran 2, New Zealand 1, France 3, Senegal 2, Iraq 1, Norway 3, but I think that one could also go either way. Iraq's been a very quality side recently, and a side that could surprise a lot at this tournament. Then I'm going Argentina 2, Algeria 1. Speaking of Algeria, shout out to Vladimir Petkovic. He's one of the 3 Bosnian coaches at the World Cup, which includes Sergej Barbarez, Bosnia's manager, and Zlatko Dalic. Croatia's manager, Zlatko Dalic from Livno, Vladimir Petkovic from Sarajevo, and Sergej Barbarez from Mostar. Then, for my next prediction, I'm going Austria 3, Jordan 0. Speaking of Austria, I'll never forgive them for the 1-1 draw against Bosnia, which caused us to not directly qualify. But, it all worked out then, so, yeah, who cares anymore? Then, for my next one, pretty big scoreline, but I think it could also be closer. It could be like 3-1, 2-1. I'm going Portugal 5, Congo 1. Then for my next game, I'm going England 1, Croatia 1. I think that's going to be a tough matchup for both sides. I think both sides are still going to need some adjusting to the heat, because I think Croatia just, got here, and then England has had some struggles with the heat. Then for my next match, I'm going Ghana 2 against Bosnia's last opponent, Panama. So 2-0 for Ghana. And then for my last match, which I will say Uzbekistan, I think, could be a surprise at this World Cup as well. They've been playing some nice football recently. I watched them a little bit against Canada. And, they've been playing some decent football recently. Obviously, they lost to Canada. But my prediction for their match is Uzbekistan 1, Colombia 3. So there's lots of great matchups coming up during match day 1. But let's focus back on Bosnia versus Canada. Now, for Bosnia, as known, Haris Tabakovic will miss the match due to injury, as he is still nursing a foot injury picked up at the end of the season with Borussia Mönchengladbach. Haris was a huge part of the qualifiers for Bosnia, scoring a few crucial goals, including the equalizer against Italy. However, on the bright side, head coach Sergej Barbarez has told German outlet Kicker that Haris could be ready as soon as Bosnia's second match against Switzerland, which could be a big match for Haris if he's ready in time. Haris is part of the Bosnian Swiss diaspora, so he grew up in Switzerland and represented them at youth level. So it's definitely a match that probably means a lot in his household and to him. So hopefully he can be ready and healthy by then, but if not, it's going to be good to have him back by Qatar, which was the original deadline that most were expecting. Now in other Bosnian injury news and a bit of heartbreaking news, our original third-choice goalkeeper, Osman Hadžigić of Slaven Belupo in Croatia, will miss the World Cup due to injury. Now, obviously, as a third choice, you're usually never expected to play, but the most heartbreaking part of all of this was that Hadžigić was set to come on to make his debut at halftime of Bosnia's friendly match a few weeks ago against North Macedonia. However, as he was set to replace our backup goalkeeper, Martin Zlomasulic of Rijeka in Croatia, who started the match and also was linked to a move to Karabag in Azerbaijan, which seems like prophecy that a Bosnian goalkeeper plays for Karabag. First, we had Sehic playing there, then Asmir Begovic, and now Martin Zlomasulic. But nonetheless, a good move if the rumors are true. But now back on Hadžigić. Like I was saying, he was set to come on for his debut against North Macedonia. He got injured during warm-ups at halftime and was taken off on the stretcher. And it's just a sad sight to see. He took to Instagram a few days ago and issued a heartfelt statement right before the World Cup starts. So I hope that Osman gets well soon, and I'm sad that he is no longer a part of this team for the World Cup. In his place, 18-year-old goalkeeper of Borac Banja Luka in the Bosnian Premier League, Mladen Jurkas, was called up. He joins fellow Bosnia international Kerim Alibegovic as part of the youngest team of the tournament. And we will touch more on Kerim in a bit, but now looking at a member of the oldest team of the tournament, we take a look at the legend and captain of the Bosnian national team, 40-year-old Bosnian diamond, Edin Dzeko. Now, Dzeko has caused some stir in the past week and a half as he did miss the team's last training session in St. Louis. He also didn't take place or participate in the matches against North Macedonia and Panama. He trained away from the team on his own earlier this week. However, as of yesterday, he is back in training with the whole team and also took place in training this morning. Sergei Barbares told Canadian outlet TSN on Sunday, when the team first landed in Toronto, that Dzeko is expected to play against Canada in the opener on Friday. So it looks very likely the captain will be ready to take on the host Canada. Now, before we get into more Bosnian national team talk, let's move on and take a look at Canada. Now, big news for Bosnia is that Canada captain and Bayern left back Alphonso Davies will be out and will not play in the opener against Bosnia, as he is still nursing an injury. Another key Canadian player and defender, Moise Bombito, is also out for the opener against Bosnia. As we know, Marcelo Flores also got injured right before the World Cup, so that's also sad for Canada, obviously. I was actually kind of excited to see Marcelo Flores play, even though I want Bosnia to win. But yeah, he will sadly miss the World Cup due to injury. And as of yesterday, midfielder Ismail Kone left training early due to fever. So he could potentially be questionable for the opener against Bosnia. Canada's main threat at the moment, I would say, in terms of this match going in against Bosnia, is their strikers. So I would say the strikers are the main threat in this matchup. In particular, Jonathan David of Juventus and former Lille striker, who's been very quality for the Canadian national team. I think as long as our defense can keep Jonathan David contained, we can get a result against this Canadian team. I would say the biggest factor in a win for Bosnia will be our wingers, whether those are the wonder kid duo of Kerim Alibegovic and Esmir Bayraktarovic, or Amar Memic, who in my opinion is the most underrated player in our national team currently. Whatever our winger duo is tomorrow, it is guaranteed that they will bring pace, creativity, and fearlessness, and they all have an eye for goal. Another potential player I would say to keep an eye out on throughout the whole tournament, and could be a surprise package for Bosnia, is Ermin Mamic, who recently switched allegiances from Austria to Bosnia and joined the team right before the World Cup. He brings a lot of strength and quality alongside creativity going forward and has a rocket of a shot. And he could potentially be a trick up Sergei Barbares' sleeve in all three group stage matches. I think our most important players, in my opinion, going into tomorrow include the inevitable 40-year-old captain Edin Dzeko, who I believe will show fans there was nothing to worry about and will show up like he always does in big matches and grab himself a goal. He's obviously, in my opinion, the most underrated striker, in history, in my opinion, and that's me being truthful. I'm saying in history. I don't care about players who came before him. Edin Dzeko, in my opinion, at least in the last 10 years, I will say, he is the most underrated striker in all of Europe, and he's just such a quality player, such a legend, and I'm glad that he's still playing and that he's at this World Cup. I'm interested to see what happens after the World Cup, whether he'll stay another year at Salka or whether he'll retire. The day he retires is going to be a sad day for Bosnian football, I can say. The second player that I think is very important for Bosnia would be goalkeeper Nikola Vasil, who, despite letting up a goal against Panama, had a great performance and really kept Bosnia into the game at some moments. As well as Italy, he did have a mistake, which he is pretty mistake-prone recently, but he knows how to keep us in the game. He had some great saves against Italy that really kept us in the game, and he's a top-quality goalkeeper who can come in clutch and grab Bosnia a win. Today, Ermedin Demirovic spoke to the media today and said that we didn't come to Canada and the World Cup just to see the stadiums. We came to get results, and we're full gas on the throttle. So the players are full of confidence and know the task ahead of him, including Demirovic, which I hope that Demirovic can finally get on the score sheet at this World Cup and end his goalless drought and really show that he has quality and that, obviously it has taken him a lot of time to, get going. I mean, he doesn't have many goals for the national team. He's been very unlucky. Sometimes I will say his shot selection isn't the best, but I'm confident Damirovic. I think he can turn things around, and I think a goal at the World Cup could really, help change his fortune and get him going for the national team. So like I was saying, the players are full of confidence. They know the task ahead of him. That's why I'm thinking a Dzeko strike and a Kerim Alibegovic banger will set the tone for a 2-1 win for Bosnia tomorrow. Hajmo Bosno. In other Bosnian sports news, longtime Bosnian handball player Mirsad Terzic has announced his retirement from professional handball. He was Bosnia's most capped international with 171 appearances stemming from 2001 to 2024. He was Bosnia's all-time top goal scorer with 472 goals. So good luck to him in retirement. And in more Bosnian sports news, Boston Celtics player Luka Garza will be back playing for the Bosnian national team this summer in terms of basketball for the World Cup qualifiers against Turkey and Serbia on July 2nd and 6th. Garza is back in the national team after a 3 or 4 year hiatus. Obviously, he wanted to play in Eurobasket last year, but was sadly denied by FIBA. So it's nice to see Luka back in the squad, and good luck to him. In more Bosnian sports news, speaking of Kerim Alibegovic from earlier, who is such a great young talent, I think has the potential to become world class. He's only 18 years old. He's full of explosiveness, has a great shot, great quality, great technique, lots of creativity to this Bosnian side, and he performed great for RB Salzburg last season. And now he's back with Bayer Leverkusen. He did, get signed again on a buyback clause. But he has been linked with a move to AS Roma, which is one of my favorite clubs. They have gotten Champions League football again after a long stint away from the Champions League. So I would be very excited to see whether or not he ends up going to AS Roma. I know that his dad met with former Roma player and Bosnia international Miralem Pjanic a few months ago and was discussing a potential move to Italy. There's a lot of top clubs in Italy and England and just around Europe interested in Kerim Alibegovic. I think when it comes to, a Premier League club, because I've seen him linked with Aston Villa, and Manchester United a bit. I think that he's not ready yet for the jump to the Premier League, and that a move to Serie A would be great for him. And I think that Kerim could really become an explosive young player in Serie A and bring a lot of quality like other young players such as Kenan Yildiz and Nico Paz. And I would really like to see him join Roma. And I think that Roma could have a really good season next year, especially with the confidence now that they're back in the Champions League. So I would really love to see Kerim join. He's full of confidence, and I'm excited to see what he does at this World Cup for Bosnia. And him and, like I was saying, Esmir Baraktarovic are definitely players to keep an eye out on, alongside center back Tarik Muharamovic, who was linked to a move to Inter and many Premier League clubs and has been linked away from a move from Sassuolo. So I'm really excited to see what the future holds for all those young players and whether or not they get moves after the World Cup. I think Esmir might stay at PSV, but in terms of Kerim and Tadic, I think that they could definitely get a move after the World Cup and that they're going to be key contributors and performers for Bosnia in this year's World Cup. That should about wrap it up for this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. I know it was a bit of a shorter episode, but, it's my first time back in a while. Once again, apologies for not recording in a very long time. Sorry for any mistakes and stutters and stuff during the episode. But yeah, like I was saying, hopefully we're back now. Once again, you can find me on socials at Dino_zigzag on X, Zmy Media on Insta, X, YouTube, and Spotify. And if you haven't already, drop us a follow on all those platforms. And hopefully Bosnia and USA grab a win tomorrow. Let's go USA and Hajmo Bosno. Dino out.